Welcome back to r/AholeTax, where jerks get exactly what they deserve in a very satisfying way. And if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive into the stories. And guys, before we start, I would just like to say thank you so much for the kind words yesterday. It really means a lot to me and it made me feel a whole lot better. Thank you so much. It is awesome to have such an amazing community behind you. And the first one is titled, Airline Tries to be a Prick and Not Reimburse Pilot $360, Gets Sued and Pays $130,000. And someone here asked a question, can you tell me about a time that you sued someone in civil court and won? And then a user said, this happened to one of my co-pilots. He, Fred, was on a flight to Frankfurt with a captain named Mike. When they landed, it was raining. As Fred was going down the stairs, he slipped and hit his hip. He was in great pain when Mike came down and saw him. Mike suggested that he goes to the airport clinic and get his hip looked at. The clinic charged Fred $360, but because he was in such pain, Fred forgot to use the company credit card and used his own. A month later, Fred gets the credit card bill and realizes his mistake. He submits an expense report, but the company denies repayment. Fred calls Mike, who is now the chief pilot, and tells him what happened. Mike says, I don't know what you're talking about. Fred reminds him of his suggestion that Fred goes to the clinic. Again, I don't know what you're talking about. Now Fred is pissed and gets a lawyer to sue the company. In court, Fred's lawyer shows the judge copies of Fred's schedule, his passport containing an entry stamp at Frankfurt on the day in question, and the clinic bills. Fred testifies as to the problems he's had with the company and the chief pilot. The judge looks at the airline lawyer and says, you, airline lawyer, in my chambers, now. Fred said everyone could hear the judge reaming this lawyer a new a-hole, and then all gets quiet and the bailiff comes out, motions to Fred's lawyer to come hither. Fred's lawyer comes out a minute later and whispers to Fred, how much money do you really want? Fred says, my $360 and your fees paid. Lawyer says, I think we can do better than that. The settlement? Fred's $360, his lawyer's fees paid, and $100,000 as a penalty for abuse of the system. Over $130,000 for a $360 bill. And that, my friends, is the perfect example for AholeTax. Absolutely lovely if you ask me. And by the way, in case you were wondering, because I said I had an accident yesterday, my leg is already not as big anymore as it was yesterday, and I hope in the next 1 or 2 weeks I can walk again without any issues. At least that's what I hope. Unfortunately, the guy that crashed into me was not as lucky as I am. As I said, he wore flip-flops, so his foot had to get like 7 stitches, so he cannot walk for a while. I hurt you. Apparently you didn't, Karen. So this quite literally happened less than 30 minutes ago. Yes, I'm on Reddit at work. For some background, I work at a neighborhood supermarket in Brooklyn, and being the week before Thanksgiving, we have some special and particularly good sales going on. The relevant sales being: spend $50 and get a turkey at $0.29 per pound. Regular price is $1.79 per pound, so a $1.50 discount per pound. Spend $100 and get a turkey for free, $1.79 discount per pound. Enter Karen. She is buying 2 turkeys among other groceries, but one of the turkeys is missing its price label. The label is necessary for the discounts to apply because it triggers when the proper barcode is scanned. I tell her that she cannot take the turkey without the label, and I offer to go to the back and get a new one that has one. Upon returning, she is visibly peeved and says she cannot trust that I am not overcharging her with a fake label, and says there is no way that turkey is 15 pounds because the other one in her cart is also 15 pounds and way bigger. I explain that the turkeys come pre-weighed and pre-priced from the warehouse, and we have no way of printing the special labels in store, and furthermore I can weigh it on the register scale but will still have to scan the barcode for the price for the discount, not to do a manual price input. She loudly exclaims she cannot trust me and demands I weigh it and do a price per pound. I put it on the scale and show her that it reads 15.43 pounds. The label had it at 15.23 pounds, at which point she scoffs but does not say anything. I start to ring up her groceries, and after about $48 worth, she tells me to stop. She wants to split payment between cards. I explain that she needs to reach $50 to get the discount on a turkey, and I can split the payment at the end if needed. She yells at me to stop trying to rip her off. She knows the turkey is free if she spends $100. I try to tell her that she has 2 turkeys and the discount can only trigger once per transaction, and that getting 2 turkeys at a $1.50 off is better than 1 turkey for free, but she's having none of it and says in increasing volume, I heard you, let me ducking pay. Deciding not to help her anymore, I let her pay and then ring up the rest of her cart, charging the 1 turkey she made a fuss about by weight $0.36 higher than the label price, which ended up being about $104 after $28 off for the free turkey. In total, she spent $152 on groceries and 2 turkeys, when she could have spent about $130 if she were just a bit less rude and dismissive. Well, I guess guys, it's a good thing when rude people pay more in the end. And I gotta say, I'm always surprised how similar r/AholeTax is to r/malicious compliance. But then again, I'm a big fan of r/malicious compliance, so it is not a big deal. In addition, if you want to support my channel, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and post some star emojis in the comments, as that would help me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled, Boss Makes Life Hard, so I leave and profit from it. My hotel has a lot of crazy happenings that I have shared before, but holy crap, does this have to win an award for one of the most insane things to happen. First off, I wanna say take a seat, grab a drink, a snack, maybe a beer, because holy F, is this a long one. This little old couple, very well mannered and seemingly just cheeky, came to check in mid-evening. The wife we will call Chair Lady or CL, and the man we will call Prison Bird or PB, more context on the second late. They were celebrating CL's diagnosis as melanoma free and decided to take a vacation at our property using CL's membership points. They made a joke that I would get to know them by the end of their stay, not wrong there, and immediately asked where the bar was so they could get a few glasses of wine. They went out for dinner after scoping out the bar for about 10 minutes and came back a good 2-3 hours later. They ordered 2 glasses of Chardonnay, 1 glass per person, and then sat down in the lobby, spending about 15 minutes on those glasses just chatting and crap. I had a few check-ins and was standing at my front desk station around the corner from the bar when CL started shouting, "Waiter!" requesting another glass. Obviously, I'm not a waiter and it is annoying when people act like we are a full service or I'm a dog. But nonetheless, I went and got them a second round. I would say another 10 minutes passed before they asked for a second round. They started joking around about their marriage and being cheeky old people. I did not think much of it, going back to my pot and going back about 15 minutes later with their third round. They started getting really inappropriate around that time, so I told my coworker I was going to cut them off. On their fourth and final round, PB blatantly states, "We are thinking of having intercourse tonight," and then proceeds to go on a big cursing fountain of nonsense, which gets CL pretty angry at him, telling him to shut up. I made sure to make them both aware they were not receiving any more drinks. About a good 20 minutes pass and coworker, we will call him B, and I were on the phones at the desk working on 2 separate guest issues. I happened to turn around and saw CL lying on the floor. I immediately went over to ask what happened and if she was okay. She laughingly explained she fell over one of the lobby chairs. B goes and grabs her a water before asking if she needed medical assistance, while I grabbed the hotel wheelchair. She declined assistance but accepted the wheelchair, and out of instinct I handed B an incident report to get filled out, as is corporate policy. Now, PB did not like the idea of his wife answering questions or filling out an incident form without his consent. Like it is still the 50s or something, he starts cursing up a storm about, "Nobody talks to my damn wife but me," or
"We ain't signing anything because we've done nothing wrong."
Now B, who had been understanding as hell and professional as all can be, was understandably upset by PB's ranting, seeing the proverbial crap show about to go down as B started giving PB the verbal smackdown about, "I will have the cops escort you and your stuff out if you do not keep a nice mouth around me." I opted to call the local non-emergency as a precaution. Boy, was I glad I did. Right as I get off the phone with the cops, PB begins to go on a homophobic slur-ridden rant of the century. He straight up grabs B's privates and says,
"I bet you like that, don't you?"
To which B straight up hit his hand with the clipboard and declared we were going to have to ask them to leave as soon as the cops came by. B comes back to the desk while I am still calling corporate to report the issue and flag their account as a DNR. PB is still going on this majorly homophobic rant for a good 10 minutes. And guys, by the way, I'm not exactly sure what DNR means, but I suppose it means something like don't rent? Or essentially getting blacklisted from a hotel, but if anyone knows for sure, please let us know in the comments. Anyway, at this time people are starting to come back from dinner and are passing through watching this old man screaming disgusting things at B. While trying to hold B back, I noticed that CL's ankle is very swollen. She tries to get out of the chair while screaming at her husband to
"Shut the hell up,"
and ends up falling again. B tries to go help her, but PB starts screaming at him to not come near them and tries to lift his wife himself, ending up falling on top of her. Jesus guys, those two are a train wreck. Anyway, a guest passing through who's a retired firefighter came to help pick CL up and put her back in the wheelchair. He advised we call fire rescue just as a precaution, should either guest be hurt. I get on the phone to call 911 and tell them the guest's ankle is swollen as hell. B decides to go over and ask if the injury was from the fall or not, while alerting CL that we called fire rescue anyway as a precaution. She blatantly states the swollen ankle was a pre-existing injury, which I wrote down immediately on my own play-by-play witness report. PB starts getting agitated with B asking questions and gets up, pushing B into the lobby column while shouting more homophobic disgustingness. B immediately walks away and says to call the cops again because PB is now drunkenly coming towards the desk and screaming at us. I call 911 to cancel the paramedics and get the police out immediately, but the cops are stuck on a high priority call. Lo and behold, the paramedics still show up, and thank God they did, because honestly they calmed PB down with some light conversation and confirmed CL was okay. Right behind the paramedics, an hour after calling, the police show up. They are the most built female and male cops I've ever seen, like honestly body goals, and thank God, because the nonsense that goes down next. PB and CL are upset because the cops are there. The cops are having none of that BS today. CL gets out of the wheelchair and wobbles her way to the elevator alongside PB, who's flicking off B the entire way and saying the world's third most homophobic rant. These two numbskulls don't press the floor button and end up back on all sorts of floors before finally getting off on the right one. I awkwardly ride in the elevator with the cops and lead them, and a stumbling PB, to the room with a key. However, CL's nowhere to be found, which makes everyone start panicking. PB refuses to listen to the cops and takes off down the hallway, saying he needs to find CL, and the cops now have to wrangle two drunk people while I stand there with the door open feeling useless as hell. They find CL wandering back onto the elevator and went back down to the lobby where B sent her back on the elevator and PB was hiding in the stairwell. Finally, about 30 minutes into the cops being here, they get PB and CL into the room to start packing. CL is starting to argue with PB, saying it is his fault for convincing her to come to our hotel, and she starts calling him names. She tries to push PB onto the sofa, which causes him to start cursing her out. The cops are at the end of their patience, telling them to get out or get arrested. CL and PB keep on stalling for a near 20 minutes before finally getting their stuff into the hallway. Around this time, PB decides it is a great time to threaten a cop and start getting racist. PB got his back against another occupied room's door, banging on it with his fist and flicking the cop off, saying,
"This is America, I can shoot anyone and do whatever I want."
To which the cop continues to say he will arrest PB if he doesn't keep moving. The female officer starts to coax CL towards the elevator in attempts to give them both a chance to comply. CL starts following the female officer, but PB grabs her by the shirt and starts yanking her back, dragging her across the floor. So you have them bumping into all the guest room doors and walls, screaming,
"Let go of me!"
and the cops shouting for PB to let her go or get tased. The cops finally get PB and CL to the elevator. I decide to take the stairs and meet up with B at the desk just in time for another officer to come in. B is speaking to that officer about pressing charges against PB, just to be interrupted by a screaming match in the corridor leading from the elevator to the lobby. PB is starting up a racist/homophobic screaming rant against the cops and shoves the female cop, trying to grab her taser. The male cop grabs him and tries to cuff him, but this late 70s-year-old PB is holding his own, and it takes 3 cops to get him in handcuffs and out of the front door. On the way out, PB shoves a teenage girl with his shoulder, which then causes the girl's mom to start yelling and talking to the cops outside. CL ends up wobbling into the lobby with the female cop and parks herself in a chair, where she then has the audacity to say,
"If I paid for the room, why can't I stay here? I had nothing to do with this mess."
To which I proudly state, "By insert state name here, law, I am refusing you service." About another hour passes. I get trespass letters for both guests from the local PD, and CL again asks why she cannot stay. The female cop has to repeat what I said in the layman's terms of the manager wants you to leave the property ASAP. Mind you, I was nice enough to find her lodging at a hotel down the street and called her a cab, so brownie points to me, I guess. By the time this crap show was over, it was 12:05 AM. An hour past my shift's end time. B and myself stayed almost another hour writing reports and recalling every time possible. The most handwritten reports I've ever made. I will update once I get in and see the amount of trouble or reward I am in for. Update: I'm currently at work, not fired. My grand manager did not even look at the report, but my AGM did praise B and I for our professionalism. PB did try to come back to the property to get some shoes he left, ignoring the trespass letter and claiming he had no idea why he was arrested, to which my GM basically told him to get the F out. And the last one is titled, "Boss makes life hard, so I leave and profit from it." I have posted this on another subreddit as a comment, but I think it fits here as a post. A bit long, but works up to a good ending, I think. I was a senior academic in charge of admissions for a large-ish department in a UK university. I employed tour guides on open days run by the university. One day I made the mistake of employing a student who decided to show off her incorrect knowledge. Let's call her R. The day started with me assigning R and some other guides to a building on the other side of the campus, where they would divide their time between receiving potential applicants and guiding them across to their department. I should have said that this building was the place that everyone reported to on arrival. Things went well for a couple of hours, and then I had a Karen mother. She arrived and asked me about one of the basic qualifications required for admission, English. It turned out that her child did not have this qualification, but a similar one that is quite rare and definitely not acceptable. I carefully explained the difference and she was clearly not happy. It turned out that she had already asked R, who had assured her that this qualification was fine. Remember that R was a tour guide. She then became very aggressive, saying that I was rubbishing her son and I would regret it. I still calmly explained the difference between the qualifications. Essentially, the one her son had was basically just the first half of the one required, but she just repeated that my staff, R, had already said it was fine and now her son was upset. So I had 2 people causing me grief, R and Karen. Nothing more happened that day, but on the next working day, this had been a Saturday, I received an email from the head of admissions for the whole university. Karen had complained to the vice chancellor, basically the CEO. I explained what had happened, but still had to write an apologetic email. I asked R to come and see me and pointed out the problems she had caused. For reasons I won't go into here, she was a very entitled student who believed it was okay to act as admissions staff. I never employed her again. Unfortunately, it did not end there. There's a whole separate story, too long to go into here. R basically held a grudge and fabricated a bullying complaint against me on an unrelated matter. I had a weak boss whose first language was not English, and he refused to, or was unable, to understand what had actually happened. He took actions that made it harder to do my job and caused me a lot of stress. He lied to me, telling me I had violated policies that later turned out to be non-existent. He also threatened disciplinary action from the vice chancellor and other stuff. This whole stressful time went on for a couple of years. The good part, I became so fed up, I looked into the costs of retiring. I had been very careful with my pension. I discovered that if I waited a few months I could retire, and I would be about £200 a month better off than if I stayed working. So I left, carefully timed, and he was so surprised I had to explain 3 times that I was leaving, and so thrown that he messed up an important speech an hour later. If it hadn't been for Karen and R, not to mention the boss of course, I would probably be still there. And guys, unfortunately we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.